Hi, I'm Austin. So thankful that you decided to check out this episode of Common Ground Online. I need to be completely honest with you. These last few months have been some of the most challenging ones that my family has had in our entire lives. We've had death in our family, and we've had death in close friends, and we've walked with other people that we know through some really dark times. And like many of you, I had COVID, and we had some pretty significant ministry transitions with people on our teams, and through some of it, we've even experienced some doubt and some fear. But going on through all of this and so many more things that I won't have time to get into has been probably the most difficult, frustrating, sad, and fearful thing that I've ever experienced. And that is getting my identity stolen. Now, someone or maybe a few people out there on the dark web got a lot of, if not all of, my personal information, from social security number to bank logins, access to texts, and access to an investment account, information about both Common Ground and also our nonprofit Worship Catalyst. And they have stolen my phone number. They got thousands of dollars out of a bank account, set up dozens of fraudulent accounts at businesses in my name and in Common Ground's name and Worship Catalyst's name. They've traded stocks and withdrawn money from my accounts. They've set up payroll accounts that actually got access to tens of thousands of dollars. They hacked my email and responded to people as me. They took over one of my social media accounts and started trying to fraud others in my name. And it seems like every move that we made, they were able to get ahead of us and do more things fraudulently without us being able to stop it. And we still, to this day, have a lot of money out there, and my personal information is out there. And we've got lawyers and LifeLock and my board of directors and Common Ground's pastor support and accountability team all working on it and praying through it. And let me tell you, man, just personally, I've spent some sleepless nights, on the phone with companies when I get a notification at 2:00 in the morning that something else is getting hacked. I've spent entire days from early morning to late at night doing nothing but trying to stop the bleeding. I remember one night even specifically telling Finley, that my daughter, that I would much rather be hanging out with her doing something fun, but instead I needed to go spend the next few hours or maybe the entire night doing some things to keep our family safe. And most impactfully, probably in all of this, I've experienced fear and dejection and distraction and defeat. And Cammie and I, man, we've cried out to God to take it away. I remember one day when it was at its absolute worst, I just went outside in my front yard for a long time. And I just sat there because I didn't know what else to do. Well, I don't tell you any of this. Trust me, I want to tell you, I don't tell you this to have you feeling sorry for me or for us. We're working through it, and the case is still very active. I tell you this story because identity theft is real. And what I've learned through it is this: whoever is after us, our enemy, so to speak, will stop at nothing to destroy us. Financially, emotionally, physically, relationally. Identity theft has real and lasting ramifications in our lives. And here's what I want you to hear about this. Listen, you have an enemy. You have one too. And I'm not talking about a hacker in Somalia or Russia or somewhere in the United States. I'm talking about a more ferocious enemy than that. One who will stop at nothing to steal from you and to kill you and ultimately to destroy you. And he wants to destroy you financially, yes, but also emotionally and physically and relationally. In the same way that these thieves are stealing my identity, that's exactly the way that your enemy is trying to destroy you, by stealing your identity. And the enemy, your enemy, is Satan. Yes, he exists. And no, he doesn't have a pitchfork and a tail, and he's not red. He's an angel, and he has pretty great powers to steal who you really are. You see, Jesus was even talking about Satan in John 8:44 when he said this, that he was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And this same enemy, the devil, Satan, he's after you. Jesus has offered you this life of abundance and peace. He wants you to have joy and faith and wonder and holiness. And all of this happens when your identity is that of a follower of Jesus. So let me ask you, what is your answer when someone says to you, "So tell me about yourself"? What do you say in that moment? Now, I know you got a lot going on. Probably have a job, a family, school, hobby, a million other things. But when it all comes down to it, when you have to boil down the essence of who you really are, what is your identity? That question is perhaps the most important question that you'll ever need to answer. And the enemy, knowing that it's so important, throws lies at us all the time. He just hurls these lies at us, and he gets us to believe them somehow. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about 4 of his biggest lies that so many of us have started to believe. And when we start to believe them, we throw away the identity that God has given us, and we choose death instead of life. Now, these lies are not unfamiliar to you, and they're not unfamiliar to me. Here they are. Tonight, number 1, Art will discuss the first lie. You have to be strong. You have to be strong. Cammie will set this up for us in just a few minutes. And then in the next episode, we'll unpack this lie, that this is just the way I am. Like we have no control over ourselves. See, the enemy is throwing this lie around in our culture and in our lives every single day. And instead of joining Jesus to push back against the lie that this is just the way I am, we've decided to join the lie and push back against Jesus. And this is incredibly damaging, and it causes us to experience fear and defeat and dejection, just like my family's been experiencing. Identity theft always leads to defeat. And then we'll discuss the lie that says, I'm not good enough. Man, so many people's lives have been destroyed by this lie, just feeling like they'll never measure up or have any value. Maybe you feel that way. Well, listen, it's a lie. And then finally, we'll look at a lie that says, I am what I do. You probably get asked all the time, so what do you do? And your answer to that question makes you feel either really valuable or not valuable at all. But let me tell you, you are not what you do. That's a lie. So the bottom line, before we discuss this first lie, if you're a follower of Jesus, there's only one answer when someone asks you to tell them something about yourself. And that answer is, I am a follower of Jesus. I live my life for him. I'm under him. No matter what it means or what it costs me, I am going to follow Jesus. Yeah, I'm a dad, I'm a mom, or a worker, or a friend, or whatever else. But the essence of who I am, who I really am, my true self, my identity, is that I'm a follower of Jesus. And if my answer becomes something other than that, anything other than that, then my identity has been stolen. Not by a hacker, but by a stronger enemy than that, by Satan.
Wow, what a start. This identity theft issue in our family has certainly been disruptive. I hope you never have to experience anything like this. But honestly, like Austin said, all of us have probably fallen victim to identity theft and this lie from Satan that we have to be strong or beautiful or healthy or wealthy or successful, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. In fact, there are thousands of people these days known as influencers who speak into millions of people's lives every single day. And every day they are used like tools in the enemy's hands to move our identity further and further away from Jesus and instead place our identity on our own strength. Should we really be perfect all the time? Is that healthy or even possible? It may seem subtle or inconsequential today, but those voices and lies could easily crowd out the one, still small voice that wants us to be used for good according to his purposes. Let's listen right now as Art Radlicki, one of our teachers, shares what the Bible has to say about God's direction for our lives.
Being perfect, being strong. Oh, how we want the world to perceive us that way. We want them to look at us and see a strong and almost perfect person. Culture thinks that the only way that we survive is through strength and good looks and money and a great reputation. How many of you have created a resume lately? Do we list our weaknesses on a resume? Of course not. We pack that resume full of things like awards and accolades and professional accomplishments or positions. We want them to see us as a strong and capable person that has lifted ourselves up by our bootstraps. And what about being in a job interview and we get asked by the interviewer to list one of our weaknesses? Oh no, right? Well, we've all been taught that if you're asked that question, you can list a weakness that kind of looks like a strength. You know what it is. You need to say to them, I am a perfectionist. It's really a way to hide our weakness as a strength and a way to get out of that kind of a question. We don't like talking about our weaknesses. Now, think about this. If we were on one of those dating sites and you're looking for a lifelong mate now, you probably wouldn't lead with the words like this. Well, I'm a little bit neurotic, certainly out of shape, and really am looking for a relationship that will last longer than my 4 previous marriages. We're not going to list that kind of stuff. When we think of weakness, we think of it as something that's bad, something to be avoided at all costs. See, in our world, strength is looked at as good and something that we all want. When we look at the Bible, there is a verse that tells us this: when I am weak, then I am strong. Now that makes no sense to us here in this culture, in our worldview. But let's take a look at what it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. The last part of verse 7 going through verse 10. And we see that the person that God chose to record this for us, his name was Paul. We see him tell us about one of his weaknesses. He says this: I was given a thorn in the flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. 3 different times I begged the Lord, saying, take this away from me. And each time the Lord said, my grace is all that you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ can work through me. And that's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and in the insults and the hardships and the troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. There has been a ton of speculation about what that thorn in the flesh in Paul's life really was. But it certainly wasn't this, just a minor inconvenience like a pain in the neck. Some say it could have been a chronic illness. Others think that it could have been a lingering eye issue. But whatever it is, the Bible protected Paul's HIPAA rights, and we do not get to know. It was an extremely and definitely something that wasn't minor in his life, but he was willing to boast about it because he knew that in those weaknesses, the power of Christ would shine strongly through him. What is your thorn? Or maybe thorns? Obviously, a lot of us have had a really tough time this year. And some of your thorns, or maybe the thorn, might be very obvious, but other times it might be something that people can't even see on the surface. But when we own our weakness, we find that God can turn them into strength. And that is because our weaknesses helps us depend on Jesus and allows him to shine through in ways that would never happen if we were just independently strong, perfect, and comfortable. See, God is able to use really in amazing ways those who hand over every aspect of their life to him. Their pain, their defeats, their disappointments, or their illnesses, because they trust him for everything. Now, Austin shared with us at the beginning of this service how he had to go through one of the toughest times of his life this past year. Now, none of us are immune from troubles and hardships, persecutions and weaknesses and pain in our life. But the question is, what should we do with our weaknesses and the troubles that we face? There is an old hymn or a song that was written back in 1873, and it is called "It Is Well With My Soul." The song is so popular even today that right now we have a song called "It Is Well," which is often sung in the churches and incorporates the old hymn's message. A man named Horatio Spafford wrote that song in the late 1800s after several traumatic events occurred in his life. The first two were this: the death of his 4-year-old son, and then the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which ruined him financially. His business interests were further hit by the economic downturn of 1873. You guys remember that one, right? Well, at which he had already made plans to travel to England to help with a church event. And in a late change of plans, he sent his family on ahead of him by ship while he was delayed with business dealings concerning zoning issues in the 1870s already, following the Great Chicago Fire. Now, while crossing the Atlantic, the vessel that held his wife and his 4 daughters sank. And the only survivor in his family was his wife. His 4 daughters died in that shipwreck. Shortly afterwards, as Spafford traveled to meet his grieving wife, he was inspired to write that song, "It Is Well With My Soul." As his ship passed near where his daughters had died. You see, when Horatio was at his weakest point ever in his life, he was at his strongest. What about you? What kind of weakness have you faced lately? This past year, like I said, has been a really tough one for all of us. But maybe many of you have faced financial difficulties or job loss. Some of you have faced illness and saw others that you love die. My wife's mother died this past year. And just 2 days later, one of my best buds called me to let me know that his wife had suddenly died. I had to do 2 funerals within a 2-day period. Our family went on to experience job loss and life change as a result of that job loss. The world will ultimately disappoint us. Our bodies will fail us. Our money can go away almost instantly through a lot of different kinds of circumstances. Our friends and even our family members can disappoint us or hurt us. But it is through these times that the power of Jesus Christ works best and shines through us. For when you are weak, then you are strong.
Grand earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of his voice, and seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken for my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And it is well with me. And far be it from me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And it is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and wind still know his name. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and wind still know his name. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and wind still know his name. The waves and wind still know his name. And it is well with my soul. Sing it out. It is well with
am so thankful for God's perfect design for our lives. We can trust that His strength is all that we need to accomplish whatever He asks of us. Thank you for joining us for Common Ground Online. We invite you to explore this topic even further through our community group discussion time. Please contact us online at commongroundonline.org/groups, and we'll be sure to get you connected. And children, kindergarten through 5th grade, Ms. Chelsea will be waiting for you as soon as we're finished. The Zoom link will be on your screen.